Hi guys, it's Jess from Honest Fiction, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing my most recent book haul. Alright guys, so I realized I just posted a book haul not that long ago, but the way my book hauls work is when I receive a new book, I put them on a certain shelf in my office, and when that shelf is filled, I then do a book haul, and then I get to put the books away. Well, I've been doing reading sprints with my patrons, and they're gonna go until the end of August, and they have recommended so many books that I need to pick up. So I either add those to my cart or I add them to my wish list, things go from there. All this to say, I acquired a lot of books in a very short period of time that I want to pick up, and that is why you guys are getting back-to-back book hauls. But anyway, some of these books I've already started and they are so good, so I'm very excited about this book haul video. If you are unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit that notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check out my Instagram, Goodreads, and Patreon, all linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's get into this book haul. So before we jump into the book haul, I do want to spotlight a new bookish shop that is starting up. So Kiara from Luminary Pages asked me if I'd be interested in showing off 2 of her new dust jackets. So it is Spark and Glow of the Everflame. It is licensed artwork, and these dust jackets are absolutely stunning. So if you want to check her out over on Etsy, I will have her link down in the description below. Please, I love supporting small businesses, and honestly, I've been really into getting the fan-made dust jackets recently just because they are a little bit cheaper than special editions and just as stunning. So always shop small business and make sure to check out Luminary Pages. And starting off with YA Fantasy, first up we have The Darkness Within Us, and this is by Tricia Levenseller. So I believe this is following a young woman who ends up marrying this older duke in the hopes that when he passes away, she will be set for life and live a very comfortable lifestyle. And when her husband finally does end up passing away, a relative of his shows up and tries claiming the inheritance as his own, and the story goes from there. So the plot sounds pretty interesting. The only reservations I have about this book is it is set in the same world, or it's a continuation of The Shadows Between Us. So The Shadows Between Us is following Alexandra, and she is trying to seduce the Shadow King, and I believe this is following Alexandra's sister. So hopefully I end up enjoying this. I think The Shadows Between Us I only gave 3 stars. I didn't really love it, but hopefully I like this a little bit more. So I will be picking this up in the fall, and just this book is stunning. Look at those end pages. I just feel like Fairy Loot always has been doing, or not always, but they've been doing a really good job lately. I'm obsessed with that artwork. So yeah, I will definitely be reading this at some point in the fall. And next up is an adult fantasy romance. So it is The God and the Gumiho, and this is by Sophie Kim. So I'm not sure if this is Fairy Loot's adult fantasy book of the month or if it's their adult romantasy book of the month. I get both, but I will say this art style is stunning. I love it. I love it so much, and I'm really hoping to pick this up soon. So this is following a fallen god who is trying to get his, I guess, like, god status restored, and he is told he has to kill a demon, and also, if he can, kill this Gumiho, which is a 9-tailed fox that eats men's souls. I actually read a YA series. I know the first book is The Wicked Fox. That was really good. That also featured a Gumiho, so highly recommend. But anyway, this is an adult version, so I'm very intrigued, and like I said, I'm hoping to get to this soon, just because I feel like it has like an anime art style, and it looks so, so cool. Inside artwork. But yeah, so let me know if you have read this. What did you think? And next up, we have The Wren in the Holly Library. So I've seen a lot of mixed reviews on this book. I just looked up the plot synopsis, and it actually sounds pretty good. It's a dystopian adult fantasy romance where we're set in a world where monsters and humans coexist, but there's been some sort of treaty that has been put in place to kind of have everyone live peacefully, and our main character ends up breaking said treaty and is somehow trapped in a library with a monster, and they have to work together, and it has some slight like Beauty and the Beast vibes. So overall, it sounds really good, but I will say, like I said, I've seen a lot of mixed reviews, and apparently I'm going to own 2 copies of this book because it was just picked up for Fairy Loot's Romantasy Book of the Month. So hopefully I end up enjoying it. But I will say, this is the Barnes & Noble edition. It's a Red Tower book, so it does have those sprayed edges. But the naked hardback, honestly, is really, really cool. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it looks like a library with like books turning into birds, maybe? Actually, it looks really, really cool. So I really love that more book publishers are doing this with books that just aren't special editions. Like this is just from Barnes & Noble. But yeah, so anyway, this is a book I'm definitely going to get to ASAP. And another one, let me know if you've read this and what you think. Because like I said, I'm a little nervous after looking at the Goodreads reviews, but also no one's really pinpointing why they're not liking this book. They're just saying it's okay. So I kind of want to know why that is. And next up, we have The Veiled Kingdom by Renee. So this is an adult fantasy romance. Enemies to lovers. We're following this princess whose father is the king, and he's unbelievably cruel. So she ends up running away and is captured by this rebel group who don't realize who she actually is. And then one of the soldiers in the rebel group ends up kind of protecting her, but also threatening her. And I believe they are going to have some sort of enemies to lovers romance. So I am so mad at myself because when I went to a Polycon, Renee had these gorgeous like pink hardbacks of this book. But since I didn't love her first series, I was going to be like really responsible and not buy a book just because it was pretty. Well, now everyone seems to be loving this series, and I wish I had bought it. But anyway, this book by itself is stunning, just the regular paperback. There is no audiobook available. I probably will wait to read this when there is an audiobook because Renee normally does do audio. But we will see. Hopefully I love this as much as everyone else is. And next up is actually my most anticipated read in this entire book haul. It is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. Unfortunately, there is no audiobook available yet, but the day that audiobook drops, I am reading this book. I keep seeing people raving about it, and I just checked on Goodreads. It has a 4.6, which is a pretty good rating. So this is a dark fantasy romance. There's really not a lot given in the synopsis. I believe we're following this girl that is a thief, and she ends up meeting Death himself, and then opens a gateway into this like ice world where she meets fae and vampires, and somehow ends up becoming attached through like a deal with one of the fae who's also a warrior. It goes from there, but all of that sounds fantastic. I had one of my patrons said that it was pretty dark, but they were really enjoying it. So I really want to read this. So please, if anyone knows when the audiobook is coming out for this, let me know down in the comments because I need to read this book ASAP. And this next book, I just looked up the plot synopsis, and I will definitely be reading it soon because it features a trope that I do not read often, and I get so many people asking me for recommendations of fantasy romances that have the fake dating trope, and the only one I know of is A Court of Blood and Bindings, but apparently Until the Stars Fall also features fake dating. So this is a fae fantasy romance. It's set in a world where I believe the fae are the ruling class, and our main character is a human girl who accidentally kills a fae, and she is sentenced to death. That is until the eldest prince of the fae ends up saving her and essentially makes a deal with her that they have to pretend to be engaged, and it goes from there. So this does have that fake dating aspect, and I've read other books by this author. On These Black Sands, I believe, is the name of the other series, and I've really enjoyed them. I like the writing style. I actually think this might be set in the same world, so I'm very excited to pick this up. All right, so this next series, it feels like it was tailor-made for me, and I promised Kristen on Instagram I would not shut up about this series, and I do not break my promises. So she's one of the patrons that recommended I pick up this book. It is Stolen by Wolves. This is a Viking Omegaverse Why Choose romance. The Last Kingdom, if you have seen it on Netflix, it is one of my favorite shows of all time. It is so unbelievably good, and this had all of the Last Kingdom feels. The world building in this series is immaculate. There are these different tribes. So you have the Vikings, but then you also have this like religious sect of Omegaverse like shifters that don't believe in when people shift, if they can't control themselves, they are killed. So they're more of like the pious group. Then you have another group and they're all warring with each other, and it's just so good, and it's so much action, but it has those like Viking vibes. It's such an amazing read. So this first book, I gave 5 stars. I enjoyed it so much. I have not picked up the other books. I will say the other books are quite chunky. So just to give you an idea, this is book 2. This is book 1. Just the size difference between them, it's just like every book gets bigger and bigger. And then this is the last book. But I will say, not super spicy. I mean, there's like a little bit of spice in this first one, but I think as the books progress, they'll probably get spicier and spicier. Also, I should say this first book is not White Shoes. It seems like there's just one love interest that we're like gunning for. But I think as you progress, they become more and more partners. But I love this Omegaverse series. It is my favorite Omegaverse by far. Please, if you like Vikings and you like Omegaverse and you like White Shoes, check this series out. I'm obsessed. And the next two books are part of the same fantasy romance series, and I bought them for the Swashbuckling Readathon, which is currently taking place while I'm filming this video. So first up, we have Hunt on Dark Waters by Katee Robert. So I believe this is following a girl who ends up stealing from her vampire boyfriend and then ends up going through a portal where she ends up on a pirate boat with a telekinetic pirate captain. And he says she either has to join the crew or be killed, and she joins the crew, and it goes from there. I have no idea. It has very mixed reviews on Goodreads, leaning towards negative. However, I have liked other Katee Robert fantasy romances. Neon Gods, I really, really enjoyed. I didn't love the rest of the books in that series, but the first one I loved. So we will see. I will say this second book does have higher ratings, but I feel like that typically happens with sequels, because if you like the first book, then you're going to read the second, rate it higher. You guys know. But this, I believe, is following a Selkie and maybe a pirate, maybe not. I really didn't look into the plot synopsis because I don't want it to ruin the first book for me if they are interconnected. But overall, I'm intrigued, and I do plan on picking up Hunt on Dark Water as my next read. I'm almost finished with Whispers in the Deep as I'm filming this, so we'll see. Hopefully, I end up enjoying this one. And moving into contemporary romance, first up we have Love Unwritten, and this is by Lauren Asher. So a few things. One, I did not realize this was part of a series, and it does say book 2. So if you have read this, and if you read this series, do I need to read book 1? Because I don't even know what book 1 is about. The only reason I picked up this book is because 1, the cover is stunning. 2, I saw it all over Bookstagram. And 3, it is single dad nanny romance, and that is my trope when it comes to contemporary romances. Single dad and nanny, for some reason, I'm obsessed with those type of reads. So I figured I would love this, but I have no idea if I need to read book 1 first. So let me know if they are just a series of like interconnected standalones or if I actually do have to read the first book. But all I know about this is, like I said, we're following a grumpy single dad and a sunshine nanny. And that is all I really need to know. But I probably won't be picking this up for a while just because it is super thick and my TBR is out of control. But I've heard this book is also super emotional. So probably next time I need a really good cry, I will pick this book up. And next up is Let Love Rule. So this is a workplace romance. I will say I am not a huge fan of workplace romances, but this is from Hello Lovely, and I will say the cover is stunning. So all I know about this is it is a black cat, female main character, a golden retriever, male main character. I believe it is LGBTQ, and it is workplace romance. So we will see when I get to this, but I love the art on this cover. So I might pick this up pretty soon. I really, really struggle with workplace romances. I actually just did a trope video. I don't know if it's going to be out before or after this one, but I don't like reading about work on my off time because work stresses me out. So yeah, if you guys have any other good like workplace recs that you think I would like, besides The Hating Game, because I could not finish that book. I tried so many times. Let me know down in the comments below. Just because, yeah, I struggle to find ones that like I really connect with. But anyway, this is a book I will hopefully be getting to soon. And next up, we have Thorne Princess by L.J. Shen. I've read a decent amount of L.J. Shen books. Some I've loved, some have left me questioning lots of things. So I'm very unsure about this. However, I know Jen from the book Refuge, I actually don't even know what she rated it, but she asked me if I read this because it does have dyslexia rep, and I am always looking for a book that has really good dyslexia representation. There's not many out there that I've read. There have been a few. For those of you who don't know, I suffer from dyslexia, adult dyslexia. It's a pain in the butt. So I'm intrigued to see how it is done in this book. All I know, it's a bodyguard romance with a girl who I think is like a Hollywood socialite who ends up getting in trouble, and her father says that a bodyguard has to move in with her, and it's their romance. But I'm interested. So I did download the audiobook for this, and I will probably be picking this up whenever I have a little bit of downtime because, like I said, I'm always curious. And let me know if you know any really good books that have dyslexia rep. And the last book on this list is actually a thriller. So it is Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. So for those of you who don't know, I'm actually a huge thriller fan, and Riley Sager is one of my favorite authors. I've read his entire backlist. He actually lives in the same town as me, which is really cool. I wanted to get this book signed because he was doing a signing, but by the time I got there, the line was insane. So unfortunately, I didn't get it signed, but I am so excited about this book. So it is actually set in New Jersey, which is where I'm from, in the 90s, and I am a child of the 90s. I was born in 1990, so all of that just sounds so cool, but it's following these two childhood friends where when they're 10 years old, one of them ends up going missing, and I believe now the child has grown up, become an adult, moves back to his childhood home and is trying to solve the mystery. But all of that just sounds so good. So I honestly forgot the premise of this until I just looked it back up. So I might be picking this up next after the Swashbuckling Readathon, just because I'm in the mood for something different. And the fact that this is set in New Jersey and like during my childhood time, I'm really looking forward to reading this. Alright guys, that is it for my book haul. Please let me know down in the comments below if you have read any of the books I mentioned, and I'd like to say a huge thank you to my Paladin protectors, Amanda, Erin, Leslie, and Kat. Thank you guys so much for supporting my channel, and thank you all for watching this video. And I said this already, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday, and if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. I will see you all next week. Bye!